Final Destination Bloodlines explains Willam Bludworth's past and justifies his presence in the series. The first feature introduced Willam Bludworth. He plays a mortician in Final Destination who understands the movie's laws from his near-death experience. Bludworth has appeared in 4 of the 6 films and had a voiceover appearance in Final Destination 3 to guide the new protagonists. In Final Destination Bloodlines, he gives key characters death prevention advice in the latest installment. The film also reveals the character's origins, why he's so interested in death's design, and his role in the plot. It offers Bludworth a proper send-off that mirrors Tony Todd's death. Final Destination Bloodlines ending reveals Willam Bludworth's true story. In his last appearance, Bludworth serves as a guide to the rules of death. The film reveals his actual position in the franchise, his origins, and hints at his eventual destiny. There were only 2 people who made it out of the Skyview Tower disaster alive, and Willam Bludworth is one of them. The last 2 victims in her foreboding vision of the tragic turn of events were young Willam and Iris. Therefore, Iris and Willam were somewhat shielded from death's plans as it methodically eliminated the survivors and their progeny in the correct sequence. Willam tracked down Iris in the end and became an indispensable tool in her investigation of death and its patterns. He also helped uncover the many methods in which death has been unpredictably delivering victims. Willam, who is referred to as JB in Iris's research, offers Iris all the medical help he can when she gets cancer. But Bludworth, too, has an incurable illness. After Iris dies, Willam has surrendered to his fate. Rather than resist death's plan, he offers some counsel to the remaining Rise and Campbell before he leaves to spend his last days in peace. Exhausted from battling through most of Final Destination's run, Willam J.B. Bludworth has been an integral part of the story in 4 of the 6 features. Bludworth plays the role of a coroner and sometimes a mortician who counsels the teen's death is after. Some admirers speculated that the individual was otherworldly or possibly an avatar of death due to the earlier decision to leave the character's identity vague. Because of his knowledge of death and possible means of evading it, he was darkly alluring, making his frequent appearances all the more ominous. As we learn in Final Destination Bloodlines, Bludworth's seeming benevolence and personal experience motivate him to join the fight against death. Since his reappearance, Bludworth and Iris have used each of his appearances as a springboard to plot how to foil Death's schemes. Even though they gradually adapted to Death's patterns, and Iris discovered ways to foresee the threats that Death would exploit, they only encountered one individual who managed to outwit Death and prolong their own life by extending its schemes. Because of his attempts to assist others in cheating Death, Bludworth now has a larger role to play in the series overall. The savage nature of many of the deaths could be explained by this. When Stefanie tries to cheat Death, Death takes it personally and punishes her even more severely. As JB reveals, the killings might have been less dramatic or even tranquil if Bludworth hadn't offered advice and recommendations. On the contrary, JB may have unwittingly made the deaths of other victims far more terrible by making them feel at home. This also adds tragedy to every scene in which Bludworth appears in the prior films. Despite Bludworth's best efforts to offer guidance and examine all the past attempts to escape death, nearly everyone he spoke to about it met a horrific end. It appears that the loss of his friend Iris was the last straw for Bludworth, as he resolves to no longer battle death. Although his past appearances are now interconnected, they lead up to a subtly tragic feeling of bittersweet loss, which Bludworth graciously and honestly embraces. Willam Bludworth made it to the very end of the film. According to the standards laid out in Final Destination Bloodlines, the only people death will spare are those who manage to escape the Skyview disaster and their offspring. This meant that death couldn't stop with Iris. After she was dead, death had to go after her children and their descendants. Now that Stefanie and Charlie have met their horrible ends, it appears that death will now hunt Bludworth, the final Skyview survivor. On the other hand, JB's apparent lack of flight from death suggests that he may evade the same horrible end as those who sought to outwit it. Death may have a peaceful passage in store for him, if he is willing to accept his fate without running or hiding. Alternatively, Death could regard Bludworth as the greatest cheater for his past endeavors to aid others, leading to an off-screen demise that is even more horrific and agonizing. Given Bludworth's advanced age and health condition, this is a fitting conclusion. Death would eventually claim Bludworth, just as it did Tony Todd in the real world, adding another dimension to this ending. Even if Death could be around the corner, Todd's final scene displays a sense that life is worth living. This is profound because he is self-aware that Final Destination, Bloodlines, will be one of his final creations. An intriguing and captivating explanation of JB is provided in Final Destination, Bloodlines, along with a very suitable farewell.